He joins us this morning on the Harbor One hotline, I think. Hey, Mike.
Good morning.
There he is. Everything all right down there?
Yeah, everything's all right. But is it 8:20 or 8:30? It was 8:30 for a year and a half. Now it's 8:20. Make up your mind.
Well, I mean, it's true. We try to get there by 8:20. Sometimes we have to listen to an extended discussion from WEEI or others, and we might be a little bit late for you. I apologize.
All right, but it's just, I like to have a plan. Nobody in this new generation likes to plan anything. They just kind of freelance it.
Wrong. I'm a big planner.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. Lists and agenda books, everything.
I feel like I should give those mashed potatoes a try. Send me the recipe, will you?
I would love to.
Send those down there. Mm-hmm. Courtney won the Starch Off, the Great American Starch Off. Courtney and Santo are so organized, they have a couple's Outlook calendar. So they plan everything together, the two of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
You never want to double book,
What's on the calendar for today?
Well, today's a lot of puppy planning. We're getting a puppy on Monday, so we have to stop at PetSmart, do a little bit of that. Why are
you getting a puppy?
We have so much love to give Mike, and I want to give it to a furry friend.
Yeah. Did you ever think about a baby instead?
Yeah, not ready yet. Wiggy has been telling people for the last year I'm pregnant. So
it is kind of the same thing.
It's the same thing. You got to spend all this kind of money on care, and all of a sudden you got to get a babysitter when you go on vacation. So
she hasn't thought about all that.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility.
I'm ready for it.
All right, to the Bruins we go. Coach said that that first period on Tuesday night was their worst all year. Obviously coming back from the road trip. Is that but they will to win. Is that when you look at the difference between this team and last year, is that a game that last year's team would have lost?
Probably. It is tough coming back from Vegas, and they've been playing a lot of hockey games. I guess they flew all day. I mean, there's no good way to come back, whether it's right after the game or the next morning. But I looked at the scoreboard. It was 2-0 Boston, and I thought New York was by far the better team. But I thought the game increased in intensity and increased in excitement and entertainment value right up until the shootout. It was one of the best games of the year, in my estimation. I thought the Bruins played a really hard-nosed Islander team. I can't believe they've lost 5 out of their last 7. I talked to Kevin Kurz, who covers them for The Athletic, and he said they just seem to underachieve against some of the lesser teams. But when they play a team like Boston, it looked like that was as tough an opponent as the Bruins have hit all year, and they found a way to get through it.
You remind me when we talk about the road trip, as somebody who has, when it comes to fights in the stands, actually started one while playing. Just you want to rate that one in Arizona, one to 10? I think somebody lost the tip of a finger. It was bitten off.
Somebody got a fingertip bit off. Other than Mike Tyson, I don't know of anybody that's done that. What does it taste like, I wonder? It's kind of, yeah. I guess if you're desperate in the middle of the scrum, I guess, you could probably see your way through it. But I don't know. It reminds me of the story of John Wensick, who was in a fight in Providence, and he said, "Mike, I had my finger behind the guy's eyeball, and I could feel the cords back there, and I didn't know whether to pull it out or not." I said, "Maybe I better not."
What?
Heat of the moment, man. Sometimes you get dirty.
That's when hockey was hockey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mike, one of the things I'm fascinated by, and Montgomery talked about it a little bit, and I think Claude Julien used to talk about it, kind of like schedule losses when you look at hockey team schedule, and there's so many games, and is that like a real thing, where you kind of go in and you're not expecting to lose, but if you do, it's kind of no big deal, because obviously in football there's not as many games, and that losing never even enters the mind.
What a crappy attitude that is, circling and losing games. I don't know what coach would do that, but whatever he is, he can't be as smart as all that. When you circle in a game like that, then it's up to the coach to find a way to make a different outcome, to find a way to get them motivated in a different way. I remember one time when I was coaching the Bruins and we were going really well, and we were coming up to the All-Star break, and we'd won in Hartford, And we had a tough game against Calgary the next day. When you could have put it in the loss column, one of those loser games, because everybody wants to go on vacation and go to the All-Star game or south. And Harry Sinden called me up to the office, and he swore at me for 15 minutes. He said, "You think this is over? You think this is over? You think they're on break now? They're going to go someplace sunny." By the time it was game time, 5 o'clock, I closed the doors, kicked out all the media, started screaming at them. We had one of the best games of the year. We wound up a 2-2 tie, but to let a game go, even to quote Harry again, he said, "It's not bridge, you can't pass."
Mike, obviously Krejci, it seems like this isn't a serious injury. He should be back, maybe even tonight. When you look at Zacha coming in for him, what have you liked out of him, and is he a good future plan for the Bruins?
I don't know if he's that good enough to be a second-line center, but he certainly has played much better. I was kind of down on him. He's sort of a quiet player, but not that that's bad. He's making some good dishes and picking up some points along the way. I think his 5-on-5 statistics are third best on the team, which is pretty impressive. And his versatility is tremendous. But until he gets a regular role in the top six forward, I guess we probably won't know his final upside. But I got to say he's playing much better than I thought he was at the beginning of the year, and he's filling in roles where it's most needed for the Bruins, no matter where it is. So it's been a good plus for them.
Mike, as a coach, how do you make an adjustment when maybe you have a guy that potentially could be struggling a little bit on your top six, your second line, and then you have a line like your third line with Coyle and Hall that are playing really well, and say, do we move Hall up back to the second line, or do you keep that third line intact because it's playing so well? How do you kind of manage that as a coach in that type of situation?
It's like playing whack-a-mole being a coach. One problem pops up and then you bang it down and another one pops up somewhere else. There isn't an answer to it specifically, but you need to find out what's going on in each guy's head. Taylor Hall seems to be fully adjusted to where he's at and is playing great hockey, and a tribute to him. But, if you have somebody going not so good on the second line, you need to give them a chance to get it going again, or maybe rattle his cage a little bit. And I don't think there's a set answer. It depends on the player. It depends on the personnel available to you to sort of change things up. And in this case, Jim Montgomery seems to have plenty of options.
Mike Milbury is our guest on a Bruins Thursday. David Pastrnak came up yesterday when we were talking about Xander Bogaerts, and we went back and forth on whether the Bruins need to get a deal done with him during the season. I know there's a back and forth here about whether he wants to wait till the end of the season. I think he's handled it really well, but you've been a GM. If you're Don Sweeney, what's your intention there?
Certainly my intention would be to get the guy signed. He's the best player on your team. And by the way, his shootout goal was just sick.
Oh, unbelievable.
Those guys now have slowed it. Remember when shooters used to come in full speed trying to, get the goaltender to go one way or the other? Now they go even slower than slow, and they make 4 or 5 moves just before they get to the goaltender. It would drive me crazy as a goaltender. But back to Pastrnak, there's no reason not to sign him. The question is, how much do you give him? How big a bite of your percentage of your salary cap do you have to go to? And it can be dangerous there for a coach. There are a lot of these. Look at Taves and Kane. They're not playing up to $10 million a year, but there they sit at $10 million a year for past services. So it can be a dangerous thing. On the other hand, if I'm Pastrnak, I want to know who my centerman is going to be.
Yeah.
I want to know who, if this team is really going to be able to stay close to the, in the range of a Stanley Cup contender. And, certainly the coaching aspect is one that seems to make everybody happy at this point. But I think there's no pressure on him. If I were his agent, I certainly would have had a walloping insurance package on him by this point to make sure that no matter what happened, he'd be covered in the end. There shouldn't be, there's probably anxiety for Pastrnak. Who wouldn't be thinking about a 70, 80, 90, $100 million contract coming your way, and you'd want to put it in the bank, but certainly doesn't seem to bother him that much because he's been lights out at times.
Mike, last time we talked to you, the Bruins were coming off that loss to Vegas. Now then they get the win against Vegas. What was the biggest difference you saw between those two games? And a lot of people think that this is a postseason preview. Who's the better team in your mind?
Well, I don't think you could find a better team than the Bruins right now. They've beaten all the solid teams across the league. Vegas has stumbled a little bit. They're still a very good team. They still have some nicks to deal with, but so doesn't everybody. I think Boston is the better team. I think it's the deeper team. I think the goaltending, I mean, Linus Ullmark right now is the top vote getter for the Norris Trophy. I mean, there's no better goaltender in the league than him. Vezina, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking Norris, and Erik Karlsson's the guy there. But, I mean, the Bruins team shouldn't be afraid of anybody at this point, and they don't seem to be. And they don't seem to be afraid of overcoming a hungry Islander team that's really scrappy, and they're tired, and they're, coming off a 3-game road trip, and they take care of business.
Mike, one thing I always find fascinating in all sports is just records, and can certain records ever be broken? Well, I didn't think this record could ever be broken, but it seems like that Ovechkin might be able to pass Gretzky as the all-time goal leader. I know Gretzky stands at 894, and Ovechkin just had his 800. And there's still plenty of time left in the season. He's only 37 years old. Do you think that he'll play to break that record, or do you think that's a record that will never be broken?
I think he wants to do it badly. People that I know in Washington, people I know around that team, have told me that it's a burning desire for him to reach that mark. And why wouldn't it be? I mean, and the guy he's still a bull. I mean, only 37 might be a stretch. 37 is 37, but he doesn't ever seem to get seriously injured. He's playing the same way as he has in terms of physicality, and he's still shooting the puck, 1,000 miles an hour. I think it's well within his grasp. It's probably going to take him, this year and maybe 3 more? That's what I would suspect. Washington is on the downside. I mean, although they've been hot lately, they played some really good hockey to get themselves back into the playoff hunt. I think it's something that he wants to do, and barring any kind of, injury that we haven't seen in the past, I think he definitely will do it.
I think right behind him in career goals, it's Vladimir Putin. Is that correct?
Whenever I think of him, I think of that game where they just let him score, at will.
15 goals is pretty good.
Son of a bitch.
Andrew Raycroft said on this show that it's well known in NHL circles that Ovechkin has a black card that the bill goes to Putin every month.
He did say that on our show.
Have you ever heard that?
I don't have friends like that, but I mean, I think, listen, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of what about Russia and Putin, but, we all know that's kind of things are messed up over there. And if I were Ovi, he's been quiet about his relationship. I'd keep it that way. Yeah. And I'd keep the card.
Come on, Mikey. In your early days, in those early 80s, mid-80s, with all the mobsters running around here, you're going to get a free table somewhere.
Never turn down a free table.
I used to love when you guys would play that Russian team. Those are some great games.
You know what? We were really disgustingly juvenile when we approached these games, especially when Grapes was coaching. We just made it an exhibition game, and they took out some of our best players. And I can remember, they played such an incredible style of puck possession. They were running circles around us. It was some of the most challenging hockey that I've ever played, and we didn't expect it. We thought we could beat them up to submission, and it just didn't happen that way. These were good, talented teams that had become well coached, and they train almost year round at that particular point, and they were a machine. It was the Big Red Machine, and they brought it to us, and we were trying to beat the snot out of them, and it certainly didn't work.
Mike, as always, a pleasure, and you'll be on next week. I'm being forced to flex next week, so I won't talk to you next week. Merry Christmas.
All right. I don't. You can't flex anymore, can you?
But I'll see you. I'll see you Winter Classic Day because you're coming up on the 2nd, right?
You got it.
And you're gonna. I think you'll be on with midday show. So, all right, thank you very much, Mike Milbury.